if you're doing well, you kind of become complacent. If you're just doing okay, the fans start getting sick of you. And it's probably true in life. You should probably switch jobs every 7 or 8 years, but you just kind of get complacent and go, oh, this is a safe thing to do.
7 or 8. Well, I'm doing great then. I'm beating that by 4 or 5 years all the time. Danny Nee, Tom Davis went through the same thing. About 15 years, NCAA tournament teams, plateaus. They'd set their own bar, I guess, too high. As a Nebraska basketball fan, I'd love to complain about constantly not being able to get out of the first or second round of the NCAA tournament. But anyway, Fran leaves, and then you hire kind of an opposite, both maybe in personality and background, but also correct me if I'm wrong, we're kind of back to Todd Licklider basketball. Let's replace the guy who can't play defense with let's go back to games in the 50s and 60s, probably.
I think we had McCollum talk about this on our show, and I can buy it. I'm not saying he won't play that style of offense, but he's like, when it came to bringing Division II guys up to Division I, he goes, you kind of got to coach to what you have and coach against athleticism. So how do you beat a Vanderbilt, which Drake did? How do you beat a Miami, which Drake did? How do you beat a Kansas State, which Drake did? You have to counter that athleticism. How did they win that first round game? You have to counter athleticism that Missouri had, and the best way to do it is spread the floor, slow it down, and play for the best shot. The truth is Tony Bennett won a national title at Virginia by playing really, really slow basketball, right? Yep. So if you win games and it's slow, people are pretty happy. If you don't win games and it's slow, you lose your job pretty quick. Winning is all that matters. At the end of the day, winning is all that matters.
You've heard it all the time, Travis. I'm sure you feel it. I feel it. But my point yesterday was, if your team keeps winning, it's like the old Jerry Seinfeld line about being a sports fan. You're cheering for laundry. You could say it's about the people. You're cheering for laundry. If your laundry, whoever's in that uniform is winning, you're still engaged. Don't BS me with, I'm tired of this transfer portal and NIL, and I'm tired of not getting to see the same guys I don't get to know the teams. If your team wins, you're still going, you're still paying, you're still happy, you're still watching, you still care. If they win.
100%. And, teams like South Dakota State, South Dakota, Drake, every Missouri Valley Conference school, every Summit League school. I mean, hell, UNO's got right, I guess it's Omaha now, but, I mean, their best.
It's UNO, damn it.
It goes into the transfer portal. You need to understand a couple things. If you have good players, they're gone. If you have good coaches, they're gone. That's just the way it is in these small mid-majors. That's a fact of life. Your coach was always gone. Now it's just easier for players to go. And players, if the NCAA wouldn't have screwed this thing up so badly, they should have been paying players a long time ago. I think over time it's going to even out. I think the millions of dollars would be floating around. There'll still be a lot of money out there, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing what value you really get. And I think it all comes down a little bit and it won't be as enticing. But we left open Pandora's box, and it's just one of those things where you just have to wait for the paradigm shift to complete and then see where everything lands. But the truth is, if you're a small mid-major like South Dakota State, like Drake, you're going to deal with turnover a lot, whether that's players or coaches.
Is it a good job? Is it a great job for a guy coming from the Summit League?
It's a great job. It's a hard job. I mean, you're talking about a private school, pretty strict academic standards. They don't sell out. I was a little disappointed that Drake fans didn't sell them. I mean, you're only talking 5,000 people in the Knapp Center. It's a good job, and it's a job you can win. The Valley's losing Missouri State, so I think you can be competitive year in and year out, be in the top half of the Valley, be it maybe the top 3 in the Valley year in and year out. If you keep that, if you do it the right way, and that is going out and getting players that understand what the Valley is, and that's the big thing. What I like about Henderson is that I've watched a lot of coaches come to Drake, and I've said this from the beginning. If you don't understand the Missouri Valley Conference, you will fail miserably. You have to understand the landscape. You have to understand the travel. You have to understand the history of the Valley. It takes a certain type of player. But I think being so close at South Dakota State and being from Iowa, Henderson has a really good idea of the landscape. So is it a great job? I don't know if I'm going to say great. I think it's a very good job if you, as a stepping stone. I mean, Ben Jacobson at Northern Iowa is like a unicorn, right? Nobody stays at Northern Iowa for as long as he has. Why he's done that? Because he's turned down life-changing money. Back when they beat Kansas, I think 15 years ago, he could have had, the Minnesota job. He could have had the Texas A&M job, but chose to stay at Northern Iowa. You don't see that. Not too many people. Eric Wardle stayed at Bradley a lot longer than I thought he was going to. Most of these guys are come in, win, and then get that life-changing money, and of course get the resources where you can put a competitive team on the court.
TJ Otzelberger replaced him. He was an Iowa State assistant, then North Dakota State assistant, and he was banging it up his first 3 years, and people were a little naive back then, like thinking he might never leave, and UNLV paid him 3 times the money that he could get paid in Brookings, and then he's making twice or whatever, 3 times it is now at Iowa State. All returns seem to be in that. I mean, what more do you want out of him? But the ending this year was tough. It was a tough ending.
It was tough. I use the word failure because we said this team was like Sweet 16 for sure, and you're talking Elite 8, Final Four. Now, injuries play a part of it. Taman Lipsey wasn't 100%. Keyshawn Gilbert, who might have been one of the best players in the Big 12, didn't play, whether that was NIL related, which some people are throwing out there, or the injury was real. You lose one of your best players, if not the best player. That's gonna play a huge part. Can you imagine if Cooper Flagg wasn't playing for Duke? Duke would not be. I mean, they'd still be good, but would they be Sweet 16 good? Would they be Elite 8 good? We're gonna watch Duke. They play tonight as we record this. I mean, you lose a key player off your team, that makes a difference. It does. TJ's God in Ames. I mean, he has nothing to worry about. They love him. Could he have had the Indiana job? Maybe. But I think everybody knew from a long time in that he's an Iowa State guy. He's going nowhere.